And now a Fox News exclusive with some news on the 9/11 terror trials and where to hold them. Former President Bill Clinton sitting down for a one-on-one with our own Major Garrett, talking about the trial of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and where it should take place, among other newsworthy things. Our chief White House correspondent, Major Garrett, joins me live right here on the set, which is so exciting. People may not know that Major and I were office mates. I used to say roommates, and Major kept saying office mates for 3 years.
Correction.
3 years when I was down in the D.C. Bureau. And I asked your wife, what should I do about Major's messy side of the office? And she said, just yell at him.
Yes, which that made 2 people yelling at me.
Yeah, that worked about as well for me as it probably does for her.
Exactly.
Okay, so you're all important now. Look at you, presidents with
all grown
sit
up.
down with President Obama, with President Bill Clinton. He's a shoe leather reporter.
I try.
All right, so you made some news with President Clinton.
Well, we talked a lot about a lot of things. First of all, his health is better, he said. He's trying to get more sleep, and he's under strict orders to exercise more. So this is the first interview the president has done since his health scare of a couple of weeks ago. He looks better than he did when I saw him with President Bush at the White House 3 or 4 weeks ago. So that's good news.
Yes.
Second of all, I asked him about a big issue here in New York. Now, of course, the Clinton Foundation offices are in Harlem. I said, do you think the Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and co-conspirator trial should be held here? Here's what he said.
Because it costs so much more to provide security in New York, just because it's big and crowded and densely packed, if they can find someplace else to have it, maybe they should.
So I said, what about Guantanamo? He said, well, I haven't thought that through. I don't know about all the options. He did not rule it out.
Oh,
he said,
really?
definitely not here in New York. But he said, generally, he's confident that civilian trials and the federal system can handle this.
Now, what about, you also asked him about bipartisanship on Capitol Hill and how ugly it's gotten.
I asked him about something that he knows very well. The political environment in 1994 took his Democratic Congress away from him in his first term
and then he
in the White House.
Pivoted, as
right.
everyone said.
I said, so, does this political environment right now, 2010, feel like 1994? Here's the president.
A little bit. I think that the same thing happened. The healthcare is hard to do, but I thought it would happen this time because all the trends that prompted me to act are worse.
I thought it would happen this time. Past tense.
Yeah, right. Doesn't sound very hopeful.
Doesn't.
Now, what about, you also asked him about his impeachment proceedings. Was that awkward?
I asked him about Ken Gormley. He has a new book, a very definitive account, 700 pages about that entire experience. And I asked him to respond to what Ken Starr told our colleague Greta Van Susteren, that he believed that investigation was conducted with honor and integrity. Bill Clinton said absolutely not. There was nothing honorable. There was nothing that had any integrity about that investigation. But I said, Mr. President, remember, before you left the White House, you surrendered your law license and admitted giving evasive answers in the course of that investigation. What should the American people conclude about that aspect? Not as well known as some other parts of it. Here's part of his answer.
Being evasive to them, I thought, was the only thing I could do at the time. But I regret very much the underlying misconduct which caused it. And I am sorry about that, and I've said it many times. But it's a great mistake to look at that whole thing and think that's all it was about. This thing went on for years and years and years.
Indeed it did, but he said being evasive was the only choice he had.
Wow. That's
I don't believe he's ever said that before on camera. I'm not sure how many times he's had that question put to him, but that's interesting, and it's a revelation from him about what he thought his options were, not only in the context of what actually happened, but in the legal path he chose, which forced him, as a lawyer, to surrender a law license.
What specifically is he talking about? His affair with Monica Lewinsky and his denials?
His answers in the course of the grand jury investigation.
Interesting.
Because there was talk after all of the impeachment, the political side of it ended, that he might be indicted after leaving the White House.
Yeah,
he was not.
Right.
But there was talk of it. And what happened in short of that was he had to surrender his law license in Arkansas, not an insignificant thing for anyone who practices law, and admit giving evasive answers, something that was on the record in the confines of the congressional impeachment process, but he had not submitted that answer himself before the bar of justice, and he did.
Nicely done, Major. Now, do you get nervous?
Sure.
Still, even
sure.
you?
Now, we talked a lot about Haiti. It's a very important issue to him. He said the most important issue right now there is sanitation. That's the next stage of it. His foundation, along with President Bush, has raised $28 million to deal with the situation in Haiti. So we talked about a lot of things. Also talked about Chelsea. She's getting married this summer. He said he thinks about it a lot, and as a father, it's going to be among the most emotional days of his life. So we covered a lot of ground.
Well, we'll be looking forward to the reports after
And there'll be lots
that
of it on the website. Keep going to foxnews.com. We'll have all sorts of sections of the interview. 27 minutes.
Row
so we
to
cover
seat 4.
Yes,
Major's
indeed.
new blog. His old blog was the Bourbon Room.
Yes. A little too cheeky for the White House.
I told you about that before. So we'll have further updates. Major Garrett, thank you, sir.
Thanks, Megan, as always.